All right, everybody, what's going on? Welcome to the show. It is Wednesday, October 29th, and this is Fantasy Football Today, presented by BetMGM. Make it legendary. We are into the second half of the fantasy season. Who is going to have that big second half? Who's going to bust out and win you your fantasy leagues? We're also going to preview Thursday night football, Miami and Baltimore, and we're going to play a game today, one of our fantasy game shows. Which one do you think it's going to be? Which one do you want it to be, guys? Dave, pick a game that you'd want it to be.
The fastest, most painless one that we've got. Who has more?
It is not that. It's not that. Heath, how about you? You're usually good at these game shows.
I'll play any game, whatever game.
Jamie, you have a preference?
Name that player.
It is Fantasy Jeopardy. I love Fantasy Jeopardy. We're going to play that later on in the show.
Not All who has tie?
Who has what?
Who has tie?
Who has tie? Jamie and Dave don't like it when we play who has more, and the answer is a tie. They think it's right. Yeah, I mean, I guess I see where they're coming from. All right. Anyway, Dave insisted that we start today's show with a tweet from friend of the program, Alfredo Brown. Dave, you wanted just a little perspective here, right? So talk to us about this tweet. It says everything can change over the final stretch of your season, even if your fantasy team is struggling. And then it mentions the notable running backs that made huge fantasy jumps.
Whoa, what was that? Wait, whoa. What just happened there?
What happened where?
Heath, what was that?
It's just my blue light glasses. I can't see what the screen says. It's a lot of little words.
Okay. So Dave, we're looking at last year's running backs who mid-season they just went nuts.
Heath, the librarian all of a sudden. I know what happened.
Heath the librarian. I thought this was an interesting tweet and a great way to kind of think about the second half of the season, and I trying to maybe identify a couple players that could be second half studs. And really the whole key to it for most of the players on this list that Alfredo sent out, it's Bucky Irving, Chase Brown, Rico Dowdle, Devon Achane's on this list too. But for those first three names, they got opportunities. They had their chances and they did very, very well with them. And they helped people make the fantasy playoffs, advance in the fantasy playoffs, maybe won your fantasy league because of these running backs. And it's not just running backs either. But I thought it's interesting if you take a moment, go through your rosters and look at the players who could have a big second half, or look on your benches or maybe even your opponent's benches and maybe look for a couple players. Oh, maybe they'll get an opportunity in the second half. And those would be players that I'd want to have on my team.
And I think two of these guys, obviously Achane, people are going to assume he's going to be really good, but the other three guys on this list, they could repeat, Bucky Irving, Jamie, I think one of you had him as a buy low. Was it you, Jamie? Yeah. Like Bucky Irving, this team just produces fantasy points at the running back position. Chase Brown, I don't know how you guys feel about Chase Brown. The last two games have obviously been encouraging. And then Rico Dowdle, we assume he's going to get more work. I don't love his schedule, and they don't throw to their running backs as much as we'd like. But this is just a funny list because Bucky Irving, Chase Brown, and Rico Dowdle have a chance to, Jamie, you can talk about Irving here. They have a chance to repeat what they did, just in the terms of having a big second half.
Yeah, absolutely. In Bucky's case, it's just getting healthy, I think, so we've seen Rachaad White have some good moments, obviously, in the beginning part of Bucky's absence, but the hope would be coming off the bye week that he's, 100% and we see the best of this Tampa Bay offense minus Mike Evans, but healthy offensive line, maybe a little bit more commitment to the run if they don't want to throw as much or have to be as dependent on their passing game because of some of the turnover in the receiving core. But I mean, obviously, the 2024 numbers speak for itself. What he did at the start of the season speaks for itself. Bucky Irving still could be a league winner this year for sure.
And what about Dowdle? Dave, you kind of shook your head no in agreement with me that he doesn't have a great schedule, especially, if we think Tampa Bay's run defense is going to be really good, his week 16 and 17 games are Tampa Bay and Seattle. Those are two tough run defenses. But yeah, Dowdle, let's say last year he was RB 15 from weeks 9 through 17. What do you think? Over under RB 15 for Dowdle?
I'm going to say under. Couple of factors. Number one, he's got a bottom 10 projected running back schedule. Number two, just because Dave Canales is talking about giving him more opportunities doesn't mean he's going to get every opportunity. And it bothers me because I thought coaches were paid to win and to pay their best players and not their team leaders or guys who are most respected in the locker room. Like, if you can play, you play. And Rico Dowdle should have been given more opportunities 2 weeks ago, and it hasn't happened yet. And you mentioned the receptions thing as well for Rico Dowdle. Could he be top 24 or top 20 in the second half of the year? I could buy that. But tough schedule and everything else that's going on in Carolina makes me a little bit nervous. Offensive line makes me a little bit nervous too.
I think the famous saying that nobody knows who first said it is that history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. Like, I don't know that this tweet is so much about these 4 guys.
Right. 100%.
As it is about like which guys are going to be these guys this year.
Oh, I just thought it was interesting because they all were candidates to be this guy. But yeah, Heath, you have Trey Benson on your buy low list as a guy that could be that, right?
Yes. I think, you sent the text to us last night that says, let's try to avoid injured guys for buy lows. And then I think we all sent in injured guys for buy lows.
You did.
Because we don't listen to you. You're not the boss of us.
They're all coming back soon.
And I do think that, listen, we got 1 week of Bam night against a great matchup in the Cowboys, and maybe 2 weeks. I don't think it's been confirmed for sure that Trey Benson's coming back week 10, but Trey Benson's coming back. And I fully expect when he's back, he's going to get north of 15 touches a game, possibly 18 touches per game. And there's some difficult matchups on the schedule. There's some good matchups on the schedule, but he could absolutely be a top 15 running back during the fantasy playoffs and maybe from week 12 on.
Yeah, there are actually a lot of tough matchups for Benson, but the good thing is the catches, right? And the Cardinals running backs are 6th in targets per game. They're 25th in carries per game, but they're 6th in targets per game. Tampa Bay running backs are 8th in carries per game and 11th in targets per game. That's really good. That's a great combination there. But Arizona, I think it's awesome when you have a team that throws to the running backs this much. It makes them a little bit, especially in full PPR, a little bit more matchup proof. All right, so we'll get into some more of those guys a little bit later. Here are your news and notes. Jaden Daniels is going to practice today. They get Seattle on Sunday night. I really hope we don't go into Sunday wondering if Jaden Daniels is going to play, but it's trending in the right direction at least. Jamie, Isaiah Pacheco's week to week with a knee injury. They have Buffalo this week. That's a great matchup. And then they have a bye. So how eager were you to look for Kareem Hunt and or Brashard Smith last night after we heard the news?
In the leagues that I play that run on Tuesday, neither one was available. So didn't have to worry about that. I look at Hunt as a low-end RB2, high-end flex for this week, and Smith as a flex. You mentioned it. It's a Bills run defense that has struggled. We've seen Kareem Hunt, be very good at finding the end zone. And so with an uptick in touches, he just becomes that much more attractive as a fantasy option. And you talked about this yesterday, just what his numbers were last year when Isaiah Pacheco was out, just the totality of it. So there's a huge opportunity here, and especially in a high-scoring game, at least the expectation of a high-scoring game, Kareem Hunt should do well. I would start Kareem Hunt over Rico Dowdle this week, for example. So like the setup for him a little bit better. In the case of Brashard Smith, I think there's still some long-term appeal, whether Pacheco is back in week 11 or not. This is going to be an opportunity for him to continue to show his coaching staff and us, if he can be a little bit more involved and take advantage of that. So we saw the one game 2 weeks ago where he was killing the clock and, wasn't overly impressive, but he was doing it with backups. And then he's been involved in the passing game. Prior to last week, he had 3 catches in 4 games in a row. So again, any uptick in playing time gives an opportunity and gives the Chiefs now an opportunity to say, okay, if they really think Isaiah Pacheco has been struggling, they can make a change.
Okay. By the way, I'm looking at some waiver claims here in the FFT Open leagues. Tyrone Tracy going for $50 or more pretty regularly in the leagues he was available in. So be prepared to pony up for him. Okay, more news and notes. Was reading this last night. Lamar Jackson, after their loss to the Chiefs in week 4, he had the ping pong table, the video games, the cornhole boards, the pinball machine, the basketball hoop, all removed from the Ravens locker room. That's what it said. It said he had it removed. He told the equipment manager, "Gotta get rid of it." Maybe a little drastic here. Maybe I would be a little upset if
no work, no play.
Hey, It's not like they went out and won after that. Of course, he wasn't playing, but he's expected to play this week. The Saints are starting Tyler Shough, and Adam Schefter thinks at least one Saints wide receiver will be traded, and his guess is Rashid Shaheed would interest most teams. Heath, thoughts on the Saints passing game with Tyler Shough? They're at the Rams this week.
I don't think we have much reason to be confident in whether Tyler Shough will be better or worse than Spencer Rattler. I think it's a small downgrade, most likely, for Chris Olave, and a potential resurgence for Juwan Johnson, who had a 19% target share on Tyler Shough's throws. Rashid Shaheed was up as well. But for the most part, I think it's probably going to be a little bit worse.
Okay. And the Patriots made 2 trades yesterday. They traded safety Kyle Duggar to Pittsburgh. They traded defensive end Keon White to San Francisco. So Pittsburgh needs safety help. San Francisco really needs defensive line help. Malik Neighbors had surgery on his torn ACL finally. The Cardinals did, in fact, re-sign Michael Carter. Denver does not plan to put Patrick Surtain on IR, and the Jets safety Andre Cisco tore his pec. Sunday morning, we'll be answering your questions at 11 a.m. Eastern until 1 p.m. Eastern. So please join us at youtube.com/fantasyfootballtoday. Sunday morning for 2 hours, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. youtube.com/fantasyfootballtoday. Join us live, ask your questions. Don't get mad when I don't read them because I have 1,000 questions coming through, but I will do my best.
You can still get mad.
Okay, fine. You can get mad. That's fine. All right, let's go to our buy lows. Heath, you talked about Trey Benson. How about Zay Flowers, who had 8 or more targets and 14.4 or more PPR fantasy points in 3 of 4 games with Lamar Jackson, only with 1 touchdown in those 4 games. But you want to buy low on Zay Flowers.
He's got he's one of 4 players this year with a target share over 30%. He's been, a wide receiver 3 without Lamar Jackson, whether it was Cooper Rush or Tyler Huntley, maybe a little bit worse than that a couple of weeks. I think you're getting a top 20 wide receiver rest of season with Lamar Jackson. Go see if you can get Zay Flowers.
You like Trey Benson or Zay Flowers? He was your other buy low. Who would you be more inclined to buy low on?
I am more excited about Zay Flowers.
I'm going to look at the most traded list, and I'm going to compare Flowers to some of the guys on the most traded list. How about Chase Brown or Zay Flowers?
I'd take Zay Flowers.
Travis Etienne or Zay Flowers?
I'd take Zay Flowers.
AJ Brown or Zay Flowers?
I would rather have AJ Brown. I think the one exception to that would be if I was one of those 3-5 to 5-3 teams and need to start winning right now, then you might have to prefer Flowers.
All right. Well, I'm going to talk to you about BetMGM real quick because you got to bring that playoff energy to your pro football bets all season long. This Pro Football Boost Pack gives you 3 ways to boost your payout on a winning bet. Just log into your BetMGM account to receive your boost pack and then place any pro football bet and apply one of the tokens. Make sure to bet up to the minimum stake, odds, and legs specified on the token. If your boosted bet hits, you'll score a bigger payout. From opening kickoffs to game-winning drives, this Pro Football Boost Pack is your ticket to unforgettable moments this season. Don't wait on the sidelines. Join the action with BetMGM. All right, let's go to Dave's buy lows, and they are coming up right after this commercial break. Oh, ho, ho, what a tease. We'll be right back on Fantasy Football Today.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.
Sorry for that, Dave. Sorry.
Oh, I dug it. I thought it was really awesome. making people wait a little bit longer to hear 2 buy lows.
Wow. 2 buy lows. Garrett Wilson and Brian Thomas Jr. Go.
So with Garrett Wilson, he should be coming back from his injury soon. Before the injury, his first 5 games, he averaged 9.6 targets per game, 19 PPR points per game. Let's not lose sight of that. Remember, Justin Fields was his quarterback for most of those games. It's still a dicey quarterback situation in New York. I think everybody is going to have to accept that. And the projected schedule is tough too, but those are the knocks against him. We know that he's capable of being a number 1, top 12 type of wide receiver in full PPR, and pretty close to that too, even in half PPR. And maybe not quite that high in non-PPR, but still pretty good. So you can still buy him at a discount going into the bye week. No one's starting him this week. If you can find another receiver to take his place for hopefully just one more week, I think the price tag is still relatively low enough where you can get some good value out of it in a deal.
I do think, I think the schedule is worth noting, though, for Garrett Wilson. Cleveland.
It's not easy, but that's okay. Like, he's still going to get a ton of targets.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know how tough Cleveland is. It's not like they're shutting down great receivers every week. They're 18th against wide receivers. New England is tough. Baltimore, we're not really sure. Atlanta's tough. Miami's tough. But Miami, I know that sounds crazy. They give it the fewest fantasy points to wide receivers. He did score 20 fantasy points against them, though. He had a late touchdown in that game. All right. Now, I'm curious about Brian Thomas Jr. because I'm a little nervous about him. And
sure,
because of the Travis Hunter thing, right? There's a buzz about Travis Hunter, the ESPN reporter saying that he might get the wide receiver one treatment. Thomas hasn't really been that good. He's one of the worst wide receivers in the NFL in terms of fantasy points per target with a minimum of 30 targets. So why is Brian Thomas Jr. a buy low?
Because this is the cheapest that you've ever been able to get this guy. And I am not saying that he's about to become the dynamo that he was in the second half of last season, but I think he can still be a really good wide receiver 3, maybe touch the top 24 at wide receiver from this point forward in Jacksonville. I kind of am curious about how this offense is going to look coming out of the bye and how Travis Hunter will be involved, and he'll get a bunch of targets. And does that change how defenses play these guys? Could it mean more one-on-one opportunities downfield for Brian Thomas Jr.? I think the days of him getting double-digit targets are gone, but the days of him still being efficient enough to use in fantasy could still be here. So no one should expect to get a lot for Brian Thomas Jr. at this point. We've all seen him. He's not even a top 24 receiver on the trade chart, but he is a top 30 receiver. And if that's the value that you're paying to get him, I don't mind taking the chance on him. And I do think Jacksonville is going to be one of those teams that throws a lot in the second half.
And it's not all drops, but a lot of it's drops. He has more drops in 7 games this year than he had all of his rookie season. And as a rule, drops are not that predictive. Like, drops don't generally lead to more drops. He's probably going to catch a higher percent of his targets next year, this week.
If you were to expand Alfredo's tweet and put wide receivers on there, this was Brian Thomas as well. He closed the season last year on a tear, and it all coincided right after their bye as well. So they had a late bye last year. Just went and looked at it. So they had a week 12 bye. But he closed the season, as we know, as a monster.
Yeah.
So
a Mac Jones monster.
And I don't think we should rule that out again. Like, when a guy's a first-round pick and has a rookie year like he did, I don't think we should just say because of a bad 7 games he can't be that guy again. I think
right, but
he could absolutely be that guy again.
He could, but I don't think that that's part of the thinking here. Like, sure, that's some of the upside that could be in the back of your mind, but what I'd be worried about is if I'm trying to acquire Brian Thomas Jr., the manager that already has him, A, they've already invested a lot in him because they spent a top 15 pick to get him. And B, they're going to say, well, he could still do it. He could still be a big time receiver. It might make it harder to acquire him. If there's any type of static acquiring Brian Thomas Jr. in a trade, walk away. Don't give up more than you should. Use the trade chart. And again, he shouldn't be viewed as one of the top 25 receivers in fantasy at this point. He does have a good projected schedule the rest of the way.
Okay. Would you guys prefer Zay Flowers or Brian Thomas Jr.?
Flowers. But I would also expect to pay more for Flowers.
All right. I feel like there could be a manager in the league that thinks Brian Thomas Jr. is awesome and might be able to, and maybe they'd be right.
Everyone should think Brian Thomas Jr. is awesome and has the potential to be awesome, but Dave's right. You shouldn't overpay for that. Like, when you're buying low on him, you're buying low with the hope that he gets back there. You go back to what's changed from last year. It's almost everything. It's new coach. It's different quarterback. It's added receivers and weapons. It's just everything is different for him right now. So, you want to see him elevate above that and play like that player we saw last year. And hopefully the bye week, hit the reset button. Jacksonville goes back and retools some things, and and it might be to your point, Adam, that it's Travis Hunter that benefits more so than Brian Thomas from the ESPN report. So it could be a situation where we're looking at the wrong Jaguars player to buy low on. But I would hope that, as Heath alluded to, first round talent, showed us what he can do. You want to see if you can get that, but at the right cost.
I understand. Last year though, like this year, he's got maybe Travis Hunter potentially taking targets away. Last year, his breakout coincided also with Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram getting hurt. Correct. And I don't want to discount what he did. It was amazing, but the situations are different. However, I'm not sure if we mentioned the wrist yet. I'm hoping that he's healthier now with a week off, with that, because I think we've seen the alligator arms. It feels like he's been shying away from contact. Maybe the wrist is healthier after the bye, and we can get some good stuff from Brian Thomas Jr. But the important thing is we're valuing him as basically a number 2, 3 wide receiver, good, but not going to be, not say can't be, but we're not saying to trade for him as if Brian Thomas Jr. is going to win you your league. All right, Jamie, you got Bucky Irving, who we talked about, and AJ Brown as a buy low. I think that I love AJ Brown's schedule because they're playing some really good offenses. I don't think they're going to just be able to run the ball the whole game. Because when they've thrown a lot, it's been in their 2 losses and the come from behind win against the Rams. Slightly deceiving because the 1 loss to the Broncos, they were up big in the fourth quarter. But my issue, Jamie, is I just don't know about this injury, right? If it's the same injury he had in the preseason, how do we balance the potential for Brown going forward with this injury?
I mean, the report going into their bye week was that he was going to be ready after the bye. So you hope that you're getting somebody who's healthy and was getting targets when they were throwing and when they weren't throwing. So, you want to buy into what was a first round caliber player, second round caliber player, someone that still has upside. It's a very similar situation to Brian Thomas, but at least we've seen some productive games from AJ Brown, at least a little bit more consistently than Thomas. So again, you're trying to, I'm going to probably do this until the bye weeks are done. You're trying to find players who are on their bye from managers that are hoping to still make a playoff run, but can't use what has been, or in the case of AJ Brown, what you still hope can be a player who you think can be productive for you. So you're taking advantage of those situations. And so, you look at the AJ Brown manager that's hovering around 500, maybe a game below, that's still clinging to playoff hopes and trying to give them something that to help them now. And you try to get that player for a stretch run.
Jamie said something that made me think a little fantasy cops interlude here. Are we preventing? We talk a lot of times about if you're out of playoff contention, don't make trades.
Yeah,
there we go. Are we preventing any teams from making trades after 8 weeks?
I don't think you prevent. I mean, 0-8 is probably something that you question if it's a lopsided deal.
And obviously, if it's a redraft,
we're redraft only. Well, Dynasty, you don't prevent anybody from making trades.
Of course not.
Keep right. So I looked and in our auction league, you and I are playing each other, Heath. We're both 2-6.
It's an epic battle.
And so I don't think we're technically out of it yet.
No,
not even close.
But 1-7.
But that's what I'm saying. Like you have to go with a little bit of a sliding scale as you approach it. I think if somebody is giving away AJ Brown for, Chimere Dike, like that's questionable.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever seen we'll say that there's 14 weeks in the regular season in fantasy.
Most fantasy leagues, yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've ever seen a 6-8 team make the playoffs. Maybe it's happened. So if you're
yes, I've definitely seen a 6-8.
All right, then if you've seen a 6-8 team make the playoffs, then I'm not vetoing any trades based on record at this point.
Well, especially if you count total points.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
All right, guys. So AJ Brown had 1 target in week 1. From weeks 2 through 7, he had a 30% target share. That's exactly what Heath said about Zay Flowers. That's a good thing for AJ Brown. Let's go to our sell highs. Jamie, you've got Oronde Gadsden as a sell high and Saquon Barkley as a sell high.
In the case of Gadsden, obviously you're seeing a player who's doing incredible things right now in the last 3 weeks. What have we seen from this offense for the Chargers this season? We've had pockets of almost everybody on this team doing great things at some point, and then somewhat falling off in essence because there's so many great players and so many mouths to feed. So are we going to get to that with Gadsden? And so I think you're just trying to maximize a player's value when it's at its height. And this may be the best 3-game stretch of Gadsden season. I hope not, because I'm relying on him in several leagues to be my tight end for the rest of the year. But I still you look at it like we've had the Quentin Johnston run, we've had the Keenan Allen run, we've had the McConkey run, and in the case of Allen, he's come back for 1 game after the down stretch. it just wouldn't shock me if we go into a little bit of a lull for Gadsden. And if you can maximize his value now, why would you not do that? And Barkley finally snapped out of his slump against the Giants and now is going into a bye week, so you can't play him. Will he be the same guy coming out of his bye week? We know what the season's been like for him. You hope that that was a jumping off point, and obviously could be. But again, trying to maximize value for someone you cannot play this week. And could you turn Barkley, especially again, if you're hovering around 500, can you turn Barkley into maybe 2 or 3 players that could be starters for you rest of the way? So again, just trying to take advantage of whatever situation you can.
All right, question from the chat. It's a good one. What's the return for Barkley? And if we look at the 2 most traded players right now in CBS Sports leagues, number 1 is Derrick Henry and number 2 is Saquon Barkley. So we're looking for running backs who could, we started the show talking about running backs who could have a big second half. Well, how about 2 of the guys that were drafted in the first round or close to the first round? Barkley and Derrick Henry. We could talk about Henry if you want, but this question's more about Barkley. So he's having a disappointing season. He's averaging, 3.3 yards per carry or something like that going into week 8. Then he faces the Giants, who are one of the worst run defenses in football, and he goes berserk. So do you think Saquon Barkley is a top 5 running back rest of season?
No.
Do you think he is a top 10 running back rest of season?
In that range.
Okay, that would put him. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Heath.
No, I think he's like, if we could say top 12, I'd feel more confident. He's right on the cusp of top 10.
If I told you that Bucky Irving were coming back next week, who would you rather have, Bucky or Barkley?
Just by themselves?
Yeah.
Right.
I'd probably still say Barkley right now.
I think I would too.
But there is one little caveat though. We don't know how healthy he is. Barkley.
Bucky or Barkley? Oh,
which
Barkley.
makes it harder to trade
we don't know how
him.
healthy he is. Barkley, we don't know how healthy he is. Right?
Right. They're downplaying the groin like it's not a big deal. It's a groin, right? I'm not crazy.
Groin injury, yes.
Yeah. So they're downplaying it, and it sounds like he's okay.
Oh, I mean, yes. I don't want to make it seem like he's hurt, but we just don't know.
Right. But that would be concerning to somebody who's about to give up a lot in trade to get Saquon Barkley on their fantasy team.
Yes, but
what if?
But
I think that
but
could
again, like
hurt the trade talk.
You're obviously taking advantage of your friends or family in this situation, but that's what you're trying to do is, you're using the knowledge that you have of this is what Barkley said, this is what the team said. They downplayed it. So
it's tough to see him look that good and then give him away after what he did last year. But he's got a couple tough matchups coming out of the bye. Green Bay and Detroit are 3rd and 4th against running backs right now. But then the schedule is pretty good after that. But it's not about schedule for him. I mean, the line should be better. The line's getting healthier.
Well,
so value him high, but maybe this was the best we'll see of Barkley, this 33.4 fantasy point game. All right, Dave, you're saying J.K. Dobinns and Travis Kelce are sell highs.
Dobinns is coming off of a big game himself, 111 yards rushing. That's his best of the year. He had 15 carries. That's his 3rd highest total of the year. And he also did it in the same game where RJ Harvey just kind of luckily found the end zone 3 times. And I wonder if there could be some sort of pivot, maybe not immediately, but within the next couple of weeks where Dobinns loses a little bit more work. And we've already seen the Broncos using 3 running backs most of their games anyway. Tough projected schedule rest of season. He's the type of running back that I would want to pair with another player to upgrade at the running back position.
Yeah, I mean, Dobinns is having such a good year, right?
It's good. It's not, are we putting him in the league winner category?
No. All right, let me finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
The way he's playing, he's having such a good year, right? He's running efficiently. He's on a great offense. He's RB 23 per game.
I should have let you finish.
Right? So it's just, he could score more touchdowns. He's averaging a touchdown every other game, right? He's got 4 touchdowns in 8 games. I think
targets.
What we're trying to say is he pretty much needs to score most weeks to be a real difference maker in fantasy. Travis Kelce, Dave, can we just say, maybe we should just keep him because he's on the Chiefs?
Well, I think he can be a top 10 tight end rest of season, but if you can trade him at a higher value than that because he's coming off of a big game where he went up against slow linebackers and had 38 yards on busted coverage, then I think you should try and do that. I went back and looked. He's had 15 games with Rashee Rice, really ever since Rice became an established part of this Chiefs offense. That came in the middle of the 2023 season. He's had 15 or more PPR points 5 times. That includes last week. There was obviously the game before last week where he had 8.4 last year in those 3 games with Rashee Rice. He didn't even touch 8.4 PPR points in any of those games. I just think that he's going to disappoint more often than thrive. Maybe he can average around 12 PPR points per game. That's where he was in the first 6 games without Rice on the field. He probably comes in under that. And so if you can turn him into something and then go to streaming tight ends, or maybe you've got Kelce and another tight end already, because we've been talking about tight ends. There were 3 tight ends that we liked off the waiver wire this week who aren't playing this week, but could end up being nearly as good as Kelce, if not better than Kelce rest of season. So if you can get Kelce, get something good for Kelce while his value is inflated coming off of a big game, I think you should do it.
All right.
I think the difficult thing about Kelce is, like, all of the big concerns we had about age last year with all of his efficiency falling off of a cliff have completely reversed. The yaks back up, the touchdowns rates back up, the yards per reception, all the efficiency stats are back up. Like, we had this talk, and I think Jamie talked about it. Like, he was down here in South Florida getting back into better shape, and he's played like someone who's in better shape.
That's pretty good.
Like Travis Kelce or Oronde Gadsden rest of the season.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I would go Kelce.
I think Kelce carries more value.
But
I think you can get more for Kelce than you can for Gadsden.
The question is, who would you rather have?
I think just by virtue of the value, it would be Kelce, but I think it's close.
Who's averaging more fantasy points per game?
Gadsden.
Well, Gadsden's had some monster games.
They're
Kelce, because you got to factor in Gadsden's duds at the start of the season.
Gadsden's at 12.9, Kelce's at 12.8.
Yeah.
Who has more?
Can I add that to my Jeopardy total before the start of the game?
that was for 400. Okay, so, well, you know what? If Kelce has a good game this week against the Bills, no tight end I think has more than 4 targets all year against the Bills. They're unbelievable against tight ends. If he has a good game this week, might just have to buy in. Heath, your buy low, your sell highs, pardon me, are Dallas Goedert and Bo Nix.
And Dallas Goedert's been awesome this year in terms of producing fantasy points, but he's got 3 targets in his last 2 games. We expect A.J. Brown to be fully healthy coming off the bye. I don't think he's going to continue to score touchdowns at the rate he has this year. I'm not sure that he's going to be a top 10 tight end rest of season. And so I think a lot of people who have Dallas Goedert probably have another tight end on their roster. You might have to throw Goedert into a deal to get an upgrade in another position, but I think that would be worth it.
Yeah, 1 game with more than 44 yards this year for Dallas Goedert, and he has actually scored more points per game than both Kelce and Gadsden. And Bo Nix coming off the Giants-Cowboys bump here.
It's just the craziest thing, like this wonderful, dumb game that we play, is a guy scored 78 fantasy points or 75 fantasy points in his last 2 games, and you go look at the rankings, and I think Dave has him the highest at QB 16 this week. Like he has won the lottery the last 2 weeks in terms of matchups, but he's probably just a borderline top 12 guy rest of season, and he's not a starter this week. And so go see if somebody's buying into the Bo Nix production the last 2 weeks.
You know, one way you can sell Nix is to somebody who's got Mahomes or any other quarterback that's on bye in week 10. At home versus the Raiders in week 10 for Bo Nix. I would imagine that Jamie would make him the start of the week again if he possibly could in that matchup. That seems like a dream come true for Bo Nix.
I have that power, so I can do that.
Oh.
Yeah. There's a wide receiver who is number 15 per game in half PPR, number 13 per game in full PPR, and he's on pace for 948 receiving yards on 119 targets. Anyone know who that might be?
14, 15.
He's kind of like the Dallas Goedert of wide receivers.
Who scored a lot of touchdowns?
Pittman has, but I think he's on a much higher. Is it Pittman? He's only on pace for 1,000 yards.
Yeah,
not even 1,000. Not even 1,000.
His yards are so low. He's having a very similar season to Terry McLaurin last year. More catches for Pittman, fewer touchdowns, but he's basically, that's kind of what he is. He scores pretty much every week. He's only had 2 good yardage games. I don't know. I feel like I'm inclined to hold, but I wanted to ask you guys about him. He's on the highest scoring offense in the NFL. They seem pretty legit. Things could go south. I mean, I was watching more Daniel Jones tape yesterday, and the guy just makes enough like really bad throws where you can just see it going south. But right now they're absolutely rolling. But Pittman is outperforming his targets for sure.
Yeah, I think he's a sell high based on his fantasy points per game.
Yeah, it's risky to turn him into Zay Flowers. I'm assuming you do that. Would you turn him into Flowers?
No, I wouldn't.
Yep.
I don't think I would.
It feels like you're almost getting a similar type of player, based on some questions. They're clearly the number one guy on their team, but there's other mouths to feed, and you have, a running back that's going to most likely dominate the game plan structure of the flow of the game. So I would probably look at it from a PPR standpoint. I'd rather have Flowers half and non. I might go Pittman just because he's scoring more touchdowns.
I'd almost go the exact opposite way because of the catches and the volume. And certainly there will be games where Daniel Jones is going to have to throw. And of course, Jonathan Taylor's awesome and all that stuff, but Pittman's going to get a lot of targets. I think you can do better than Zay Flowers in trade for Michael Pittman. And I'm not even the big Pittman guy. Dude's been on my bust list for years going into the season.
Bet you could turn Pittman into AJ Brown.
I bet you could.
I would do that. Yeah.
I don't know if I'd do that either, though.
Oh, wow. I would do that. All right, let's take a break, and we're going to come back and talk about Baltimore and Miami and play the feud and more trade talk. We'll be right back. Homecoming for Lamar Jackson. Baltimore's at Miami Thursday night.
I don't want to spoil the excitement, but is this the easiest game breakdown of the year?
No, because Heath.
Yeah.
Miami allows the fewest fantasy points to wide receivers. How do you feel about that? Flowers, man.
I do not believe it.
It's the truth.
I'm sure it's factually true. I just don't believe they're going to allow the fewest fantasy points to wide receivers this week. I would start Henry, start Lamar, start Zay, start Achane, start Waddle. We're done.
Yeah. No, you know what? Honestly, I'm going to put a 5-minute timer on this one because you're right. This is not a game we need to talk about for
5, 3.
I thought I was done.
Well, look, I mean, what do you think about Tua coming off a great game against what was supposed to be a brutal matchup? And also, the last few quarterbacks to face Baltimore have been pretty bad for fantasy. Stafford, 11.3. Caleb Williams, 11.8. Williams probably should have had 2 touchdowns. Missed a couple of movies. But what do you think about Tua, Jamie?
I don't think you should trust Tua, but it wouldn't shock me if he has a 19-point game in that range. So if you're desperate, you can go to Tua, but you're right. The last 2 quarterbacks have not played well against them. Stafford lost his best receiver in the early part of that game, and then Caleb Williams seemed like he had 25 chances to get 2 scores and he didn't. So it wouldn't shock me if he plays well here. I just don't want to buy into Tua having a good game against a defense that seemingly crumbled just before that game and during that game from the Falcons standpoint. So kudos to him. And I do think, to Tua's credit, he needs almost everything to be perfect. And so I saw this going into the game last week. I didn't really give it much credit. Apparently, and this is not applicable to this week, but apparently he's just been awesome in domes in his career. And so, right? Yes. And it was one of the Dolphins writers was suggesting, hey, let's throw out last week the weather in Cleveland, the fact that they're sticking with him. Don't be surprised if Tua bounces back here, and here's why. And it was like all of his games in domes, going back to the national championship game when he came in for Jalen Hurts and won the game in Atlanta, many years ago for Alabama. So he's 6-1 now, I believe, in domes. In any event, there's going to be most likely good weather, I would think, unless there's something, I don't know if the storm's going to impact South Florida, but the weather should be fine Thursday. If that's the case, this defense, I still don't think it's completely fixed where you have to say I'm sitting guys against them because of it. So I would start Tua over Bo Nix this week, for example.
Whoa.
I agree.
We do have a little bit of a cold front coming to South Florida, and it's going to be down to 70 during the game. So I'm
Nice.
not sure if that's warm enough for Tua or not. It's pretty cold in South Florida. No. What's more likely, Tua touchdowns or Tua interceptions?
Tua interception.
I could see both of those things happening, but maybe lean toward the interceptions.
Well, Tua made a little bit of an adjustment last week. He got the ball out super quick, which he always does, but it was like turbo. He threw his most amount of screen passes in any game. So
they played with a lot of tempo, and they were pretty smooth overall last week. And the Falcons did some weird stuff on defense. Like, they've got one of the best corners in the league. They lined him up away from Jalen Waddle for the majority of the game, and they put two guys to Waddle's side, and Waddle ended up beating them on an in-breaker for a long catch and run touchdown.
All right, Dave, we're approaching the 5-minute mark here. So
all right, I basically agree with the guys on this one. There are too many other quarterbacks with more upside than Tua, but he wouldn't be bad in DFS. He's going to be good as a number 2 QB in Superflex leagues. The Ravens pass rush is terrible.
Do you guys like Waddle or Flowers better?
Waddle.
Flowers, but it's close.
Yeah,
okay.
I hadn't really thought about that because I'm just starting both, but I've got Flowers.
I think Lamar has 40 fantasy points in 3 of 4 games in his life against Miami.
Yeah, he destroys them. So, all right, then I have a few more questions. When you talk about Tyrone Tracy, Zonovan Knight, 2 hot waiver wire pickups, would you start either of them over Waddle or Flowers?
I don't think I would.
Nope.
I would start. You said not Zonovan Knight and who?
Tracy.
Tyrone Tracy.
In non-PPR, I would.
Okay, Tracy's got the 49ers. Knight has the Cowboys. All right, so start those guys, and then Andrews. Starters at Mark Andrews.
I would prefer to sit him, but again, wouldn't be surprising when Lamar has a chance to go off that he plays well. So if he's been your starting tight end, congratulations that you're made it this far, but just stick with him.
It's kind of a bad week at tight end. He's top 15, but not top 12.
You'll start Gadsden over him, Kelce over him, Laporta, Ertz, Pitts. There are too many tight ends.
I would take a chance on Loveland over Andrews this week, assuming Komet's out.
Right, but it's always tough with the Thursday games because we may not know about Komet.
Yep.
By the way, I said Caleb Williams should have had a couple of touchdowns. One of them should have been to Colson Loveland yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb made a great play, scrambling, got the defensive player to commit to him, left
every week
wide open, and he just didn't throw it to him. It was weird.
Nope.
Mark Andrews or Juwan Johnson at the Rams?
Johnson and PPR, Andrews and none.
Half?
Johnson gets the nod.
I think I have Andrews higher, but they are right in the same neighborhood.
Zach Ertz against Seattle or Mark Andrews?
Ertz.
Starter sit the Ravens DST.
Sit.
I've got him top 12.
Low end starter, but I'd like to avoid them. I mean, you're hoping Tua turns the ball over, which he's obviously done quite a bit when he struggled.
You know what? I'm going to say that 2 touchdowns are more likely because this team than 2 interceptions. 9 sacks this year, 4th lowest pressure rate in the NFL for Baltimore.
Yeah, I wrote about that.
A lot of Tua's interceptions don't come when he's under pressure.
That's true too.
Well,
a lot of touchdowns do.
The fewer players you rush, the more linebackers there are hiding from Tua behind the defensive line.
All right, so you think I'll take 2 touchdowns, you take 2 interceptions, and
probably neither one of us will get either one.
Yeah. All right, that's it for Thursday Night Football.
I already sang the song.
Nah. All right, I had some other trade stuff I wanted to talk about. Maybe some schedule dependent players. What do you think about the fact that Kyron Williams faces Seattle, Tampa Bay, Seattle twice, including week 17, Tampa Bay, Detroit. Those are some of the best run defenses in football. Also faces Carolina, who was horrible last week, but they were great the 3 weeks before that. Does Kyron Williams strike you as a guy that if he has tough matchups, we might be in some trouble?
I'd probably wait until after this week against the Saints.
Okay.
Or next week against the shell of the 49ers.
What do you think about Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt? So he does have Seattle and Detroit, which is bad. But then after that, Miami, then a bye, then Denver. Minnesota is not great against the run. Look at this playoff schedule, though, for Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. At the Giants, then Philadelphia could be a problem, and then Dallas. But 2 of his 3 matchups in the playoffs look great. Does that matter to anyone?
I mean, if you can get him cheap, you should absolutely try to do so, but it's got to be dirt cheap at this point. Like, he's just been bad. No involvement in the passing game, and the quarterback's been in and out of the lineup due to injury, which is clearly throwing things off. It just feels like, and their defense is struggling. So, it feels like we could see situations where game script will be bad for him. But yes, those matchups are so enticing that if somebody's just willing to cut Krosky-Merritt, because you're probably seeing that in 10-team leagues at this point, then you should say, okay, hey, before you cut him, take my 5th receiver, I'll take your 4th running back, and let's make some sort of deal.
We had somebody in the chat already said that they cut him this morning. I think for maybe for Bam night.
I mean, I get it, right? I mean, he's been useless, but I would love to see what this offense would look like with 2 healthy wide receivers and Jaden Daniels. And then if they're moving the ball up and down the field and they're getting near the goal line, it could be like a J.K. Dobinns situation. Not going to catch the ball, but he could be the lead running back on a great offense. Maybe you get some good games out of him.
Yeah, I mean, look, we saw the upside. He popped off against the Chargers, but just have not seen that since.
What do you think about Justin Jefferson? He has 1 touchdown catch this year. He's getting a new quarterback who was not good for him. But again, I keep mentioning this.
That's where he caught his touchdown from.
It's true. I keep mentioning this. He threw 41 passes in 2 games, JJ McCarthy. So he could throw 35 per game, whatever. Wouldn't shock me. They're pretty pass heavy usually. But he's got a great schedule. His teams right now, Minnesota and Addison too. This is where the opponents rank against wide receivers rest of season. 25th, 31st, 19th, 22nd, 16th, 23rd, 32nd, 27th, 25th, and then week 18, 22nd. So it looks great on paper. Maybe Detroit's not that bad. Maybe Baltimore's not that bad. But anyway, I'm not saying like anyone's just giving away Justin Jefferson, but do you feel like he could just be like crazy good second half league winner?
He could be a top 5 wide receiver.
Absolutely.
I think he'll be that in the fantasy playoffs. That's really when the schedule is favorable.
Well, it's all on how McCarthy looks, and O'Connell's seemingly out of options at this point. If he's been trying to hide him, I don't know how realistic or what that's been, but the fact that they were playing Carson Wentz with his arm dangling off, is kind of telling that they've been very cautious with getting McCarthy back on the field with his ankle injury. So the hope would be is that the prospect that we saw, the player that we saw in the second half of the first game of the season against Chicago, is going to keep this offense at the level that we've seen it from in the Kevin O'Connell era, which has been multiple quarterbacks at this point. And so I would be hopeful for Justin Jefferson. Again, if somebody's selling him cheap enough, you should be buying. And to McCarthy's to hopefully help McCarthy. He did the 2 games without Jordan Addison, so he gets Addison back, and that's a plus or minus for Jefferson, depending on how you look at it. And the offensive line's been a mess the entire season. So, you want to be encouraged by the fact that, okay, now we get to see this kid with everything hopefully at his disposal. Can he be successful with it? I'd be encouraged.
Okay. All right. 2 more players I just want to highlight real quick. One of them I think is someone who's pretty matchup dependent in the sense running backs who are not at all involved in the passing game. They can have really bad weeks. We talked about Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Let's talk about Quinshon Judkins, because we've seen the highs and the lows of him. 2 of his last 3 games have been fewer than 5 PPR fantasy points for Quinshon Judkins. So I think if you look at his schedule,
right.
What'd you say?
When he left.
He got hurt in one of the games.
Yeah, but he had a pretty good workload or no? I mean, let's see. Sorry. So Quinshon Judkins, the last game they played, all right, 9 carries for 19 yards.
He left in the first half, yeah.
First half? Okay.
This is one that you're going to go back and, if I Azer stat it.
No. I mean, I still think that you don't want you don't want them playing great teams and getting blown out. That's the point, because they suck. But they get the Jets, Ravens, Raiders, Niners, Titans, Bears, Bills, Steelers. It's like, a mix of games they could win and games they could get blown out.
Yeah, but to be fair, though, I think the game where we all sort of said, wow, Quinshon Judkins could be awesome was the Packers game.
It was the Dolphins game when he
No.
touchdowns.
The Packers game was when I think it was the second game back, and nobody thought they were going to do anything because Packers defense was incredible, and they stayed in that game and he played well. So I wouldn't shock me if, because their defense, when healthy, can keep them in games.
I think it wasn't bad at Detroit.
If Judkins is healthy, he's a top 15 running back the rest of the season.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, he had 3 targets last week. That's encouraging. But if he's going to be a 0 to 2 target guy per game, I don't agree with that. I don't think the offense is good enough, and he's very good. I do like the schedule, though. He's got good matchups in general.
The top 3 projected schedule. It does get a little prickly at the end of the year.
But it's just, I don't know. I just think any running back who has almost no involvement in the passing game has a scary profile. Maybe he won't. Maybe he'll have more of an involvement in the passing game. He's currently averaging 2 targets per game, but they throw a lot and they dump it off a lot. I think there's a quarterback.
Well, where'd Kyron Williams finish last year?
Yeah, Kyron Williams was on a good offense. He scored a bunch of touchdowns. Right. You know, I have a hard time buying into the Browns, I guess is what I'm saying.
I think the point would be is maybe what you're trying to illustrate is that there's going to be some great games, there's going to be some dud games, and by the end of the season, it balances out to around a top 15 running back.
That could be. He's currently 16th in points per game, and that's with leaving a game early. Okay, that's Quinshon Judkins. The last guy is Tucker Kraft. He's amazing. Obviously, we talked about him on Beyond the Box Score. There are so many sell high cases to make for Tucker Kraft, and I just want to know how you guys feel about him. But basically, everything he's doing is like the best version of Tucker Kraft, all the yak and all that stuff, but still the targets are often pretty low. Would you keep, buy, sell, hold Tucker Kraft, I guess?
I think the easy answer is just hold, but if somebody's giving you something great in return for him, you should explore it, especially if you picked up any of these other tight ends along the way. So if you want to pivot to Oronde Gadsden, if you want to wait a week and sell and ride it out with Harold Fannin, like you could definitely do that if somebody is in desperate need of a tight end and wants to overpay for him. But we already had one of these games for him before, and then he sort of struggled after that. He got hurt and was sort of managing through the injury. But he's on a great offense with a quarterback that's going to feature him, with a coach that's going to feature him. Like everything they said this offseason is coming into fruition, except maybe the spike in targets. But when he's had the spike in targets, you've seen just these monster performances. Yeah. So, I mean, for me, if I have Tucker Kraft, I'm pretty happy about it. I'm not looking to move him.
I agree. It's different if I've got Tucker Kraft and my team's 3-5 and he's a tradable asset and I know I can go and get decent replacement value off the waiver wire. I'd want to check to see what tight ends are on the waiver wire first. He entered last week averaging 13.3 PPR points per game. That's really good for a tight end. That's like top 5, top 6 for a tight end. And then he blew up and had this monster game. So, yes, the case can be made to sell high on him, but I'd want to sell pretty high if I could on
Jamie.
If somebody views him, like he is, I think, the number 1 tight end on a point per game.
He is right because of last week.
If somebody views him as the number 1 tight end rest of season, then I would be selling. If somebody views him as 3 or 4, then I would not.
Jamie, would you give me a Mecca Ibuka for him in the Superflex League?
Would I give you a Mecca Ibuka for Tucker Kraft? I don't think I have a tight end, right?
Correct. You have Mason Taylor.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Okay. Thought I'd ask.
That's an Azer trade.
Why? He had to think about it. He needs a tight end this week. Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
I think we can downgrade expectations for Ibuka, but I still think he can be better than 13.3 per game.
Well, that's not the point. You don't have to sell Tucker Kraft for obviously most wide receivers who are as valuable as Tucker Kraft are scoring more than Tucker Kraft.
Right.
It's value versus the rest of the position.
Fair.
All right. Let's play some fantasy Jeopardy to finish the show.
No.
Yeah, I have 3 categories and I have $200, $400, and $600 for each category. There is no penalty for a wrong answer.
Is every player in the category eligible for the category?
I think so.
Is there a daily double?
Would you like there to be a daily double?
Is there a final Jeopardy?
As of now, there is no final Jeopardy. I'm going to say no daily double.
That's fine. I just want to know the rules before we start.
I might have Schaefer come up with a final Jeopardy.
Oh, so
Schaefer, if you got time, come up with a final Jeopardy. Here we go. Fantasy Jeopardy.
he says
Our
no.
categories are quarterbacks, pass catchers, and scary movies. Okay. Jamie, since it was your birthday recently, I'll give you the board. Quarterbacks, pass catchers, or scary movies for 2, 4, or 600.
Scary movies for 200.
The killer this is the killer in the 1980 horror classic Friday the 13th.
Jamie.
What
is Jason Voorhees? Who is Jason Voorhees?
And
Heath. Who is Freddy Krueger?
How is it not Jason?
definitely not Freddy.
Definitely not Freddy.
You guys are pathetic. You ever seen Scream? This is what gets Drew Barrymore killed. She said, Jason. No, you would have known the real killer is Mrs. Voorhees. Jason didn't come around until the sequel.
Oh.
Mrs. Voorhees. Come on, guys. All right, Jamie, the board is still yours.
Scary movies for 400.
The killer in this horror movie has the same name as an NFL team.
Jamie. Who is the Texans?
No, I need the name of the horror movie. The killer.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Heath.
Oh, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What is Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Yes, I love rooting for the New York Leatherfaces. Dave, you have a guess?
I don't know what the hell the question even is.
Yeah.
Well, someone in the chat got it.
Good job.
Silence of the Lambs. What is Silence of the Lambs? Who's the killer in that?
He puts the lotion in the basket guy.
Buffalo Bill.
That's a
It is
scary movie.
considered a horror movie, but
What?
yeah. I sort of agree with you there, but if you look at like best horror movies,
Here we go.
This is terrible already.
Jamie, board's still yours.
Scary
Horror
movies, 600.
movies. This character in Toy Story.
Hey, actually, the category was not horror movies. The category was scary movies. And
Scary
Silence
movies.
of the Lambs is-
Scary?
Yes, it is.
Silence of the Lambs had some pretty messed up moments.
It's pretty
All right,
scary.
scary movies for 600. What is My Little Pony? I don't know what it is.
I have been watching a lot of that lately, unfortunately. Okay, this one I didn't know until this morning when I looked it up. Some trivia. Michael Myers' mask in the original Halloween is actually a mask of this famous actor. Yeah, if you don't know, you're not going to get it. Michael Myers' mask in the original Halloween is actually a mask of this famous actor.
Heath.
Oh, sorry, Heath. Yeah.
Who is Jack Nicholson?
Incorrect. No. Sorry if that's too loud. I'll lower that. It's William Shatner. They took a William Shatner mask and turned it into Michael Myers. Pretty cool trivia. All right, Jamie, quarterbacks or pass catchers?
Great game.
Let's go quarterbacks for 200.
He leads all
I'd be a
quarterbacks.
running back knowing your criteria.
Well, kind of. He leads
is
all
Freddy Krueger?
quarterbacks in rushing yards.
Jamie.
Let's
go with Jackson Dart.
He leads all quarterbacks in rushing yards, and make sure to frame it in the form of a question.
Heath.
Who
is Patrick Mahomes?
Can I answer again?
Nope.
No.
All right, that's time. Jamie, you can answer again, but not for points.
Justin Herbert.
Close. Who is Justin Fields?
It's
Justin Fields. He's only on pace for 700 rushing yards. He left one game early.
Great round by us.
You guys are great. All right. Quarterbacks for 400. He is tied with Patrick Mahomes for the NFL lead in touchdown passes with 17. He is tied with Patrick Mahomes. Yeah.
Who's Matthew Stafford?
Oh, yeah, baby. Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, those huge games. Yes.
Look at
It
that.
was down to him or Herbert in my mind. And I thought to myself that Stafford might have had a few more.
That's a good. Herbert has 16. So does Dak, and so does Aaron Rodgers. Wow. Aaron Rodgers.
That would have been sneaky.
All right. Quarterbacks for 600. He leads all qualified quarterbacks with a 7.7% touchdown rate.
Heath.
Heath.
Who is Jackson Dart?
Oh, no? I thought that'd be a good one. Dave.
Dave.
Who is Sam Darnold?
Leads all quarterbacks with a 7.7% touchdown rate.
Who is Drake May?
Wow. I was about to give it away. I was about to go, Aaron Rodgers leads all quarterbacks with a touchdown rate. Then I remembered it was one of the Jeopardy answers.
That would have been hilarious.
Yeah. It is Aaron Rodgers.
That makes sense. Sure.
It's kind of interesting, something to think about if you're having him in a 2 QB league like I do. All right, pass catcher. Dave is in the lead with 400 points or dollars or whatever, dollary dues. Pass catchers for 200. I lead the NFL in end zone targets. There are 2 answers, but we only need 1. Heath.
Who is Devontae Adams?
Correct. You get 200 points. The other one is who's tied with Devontae Adams?
Is it George Pickens?
It is George Pickens. But Heath gets the points, and they both have 14 end zone targets. And next up is Keenan Allen, who has 9. Pretty incredible. All right, Heath, 400 or 600 pass catchers?
Let's go 400.
This wide receiver is second in routes run, second in targets, but 17th in PPR fantasy points per game.
Dave. Who is Justin Jefferson?
Oh. All the cops on you there. Second in routes run, second in targets, 17th in points per game. This is huge here. All right. 3,
Heath.
2. Heath.
Who is Devontae Adams?
Not bad.
Jamie. Who is Cortland Sutton?
He said Cortland Sutton. The answer is Chris Olave.
That makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Last one. This is for the win. Anyone who gets this wins. No one has more than 400
High
points.
drama.
$200 or $600. I am second among tight ends in yards per route run.
Dave. Who is Tucker Kraft?
Oh!
That you did that to me twice?
So was he right or wrong?
I definitely was wrong.
He was wrong.
Heath. Who is Oronde Gadsden?
Oh! I'm looking for the triumphant music. Yes, it's correct. You win, Heath. How do you feel?
It was fun. It was kind of like the 2024 Chiefs, where you have a really bad first half, and then the final drive, you go get a win like you always do.
Yeah, you do always win. I think Tucker Kraft is number 1, Dave, and Oronde Gadsden's number 2. So I'm gonna give Dave the win because he actually did even better. He gave the number. I said second. You know what? He did even better.
He said second best, and he gave first best, and so Dave gets the win.
I think
You're
he deserves
surprised by this, Heath?
I'm so disappointed that you guys didn't get the Mrs. Voorhees thing.
Just love that you came up with a question. Who's second best?
Well, I felt like number 1 would be obvious.
It's pretty obvious, yeah. Nobody would guess Tucker Kraft for second best.
All right, thanks for watching, everybody. We've got the AFC home games for you tomorrow.
Get this question right, you win. Dave gets it wrong. Heath gets it right. Dave, you win.
Heath wins. Everyone knows Heath wins. But really, we all lost. We will talk to you tomorrow on Fantasy Football Today.